Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
I'm with Baijayant J. Panda, Member of Parliament from Kendrapara in Odisha, until recently with the Biju Janata Dal, but now you've left, Jay, haven't you? And are now an independent MP. Welcome to ThePrint.
I've actually left Parliament as well because I took the moral stand of leaving the BJP, which had changed into a very different organization.
Right.
And
would you say changed or would you say morphed?
Morphed. You see, when the BJP was founded 20 odd years ago, I was involved in the founding and I was a very proud member of the BJP. You have witnessed how in the early years I struggled very hard to build its image in Delhi, because there had been a view that Naveen Patnaik was a socialite, that the BJP wouldn't last. And I was very proud of what Naveen was doing in Odisha, which is cracking down on corruption. Cabinet ministers were dropped one after the other for corruption. Senior IAS officers were arrested. Important business people were arrested for corruption. But all that has changed in the last 5 years.
So what happened? He dropped the ball or is he still a socialite?
No, he's a very serious politician because he has won 4 terms as chief minister. You can't take that lightly. I think he delegated a lot to a new coterie that has taken control of the party in the last 5 years. These people had nothing to do with the building up of the party or the struggle. They don't know its ethos. They have given shelter to criminals who have joined the party in large numbers. There has been a very huge...
So who are these characters? Are they people around? When you say that this coterie, is it party people? Is it bureaucrats? Who are they?
The prime character is a bureaucrat called Pandian.
Okay.
All of Odisha knows this. Even in the national media, there has been some coverage of it. It's shocking.
It's his secretary, isn't it? His principal secretary.
You know, it is shocking that a serving IAS officer is collecting political funds and distributing party tickets.
That's a big allegation you're making, Jay.
It's not just me. There's at least a dozen other senior political figures in Odisha have made this allegation. And there is a lot of corroborative evidence.
So what are you accusing him of?
I'm accusing this of a constitutional... crossing of red lines, which is not acceptable. Now, we have seen very powerful PMOs and many chief ministers' offices which have been very powerful.
Right.
But no serving officer collects political funds and distributes party tickets.
I see.
This is astonishingly what has gone wrong. And these people are not accountable to the public. And they have given shelter to criminals, which is why there is a sharp rise of crime in Odisha.
Now, who is giving shelter? Naveen Patnaik is giving shelter to criminals?
No, I think Naveen Patnaik may have, is not as hands-on. He was never very hands-on to begin with, but he is certainly far less hands-on today, and it is this coterie that is.
But some would say, and we're talking also about this book that you've just written and which has been launched called The Lutyens' Maverick, and we're sitting in these wonderful lawns that you have in your very Lutyens house in Delhi. Some would say that you're the Lutyen socialite and not Naveen Patnaik, who's lived these last 17 or 18 years in Odisha as chief minister.
Well, I think you're being unfair in not recognizing that I have arguably one of the highest records of time spent in the constituency, not in Lutyens. In fact, in Kendrapara and in other parts of Odisha, I have averaged about 2 weeks every month in and month out for now 10 years that I've been in Lok Sabha. I think if you ask this question in Odisha rather than sitting here in Lutyens, I think you would get the answer that I am extremely active on the ground, and nobody in Odisha sees me as a creature of Lutyens. The reason the reason it's called Lutyens' Maverick is because there are 2 worlds here. There is the Lutyens world of policy making, of media, of parliament, which is often accused of being in a bubble, out of touch with the real India.
Right.
And that's somewhat true. And there's the other India out there, which also has a lack of touch with Lutyens, in the sense that many of the expectations in real India do not take into account the structure of how policy is made in Delhi. And so my attempt throughout these 18 years that I was in Parliament was to have one foot in each world, because you can't move the political agenda unless you are a player in Lutyens. At the same time, that movement of the political agenda will not be effective unless you take into account the needs of real India.
But tell me, you did it both as an MP and as a party man for the BJD. But now that you no longer have this party to back you, do you feel somewhat alone, isolated, lonely?
I have, if you keep track of what's happening in Odisha, I have had tens of thousands of people attend the rallies that I have been organizing. So no, I don't feel lonely. People of Odisha have showered me with enormous affection, with enormous support. There were a few people who were making allegations that I had an ulterior motive, that I quit the BJD to join another party.
The BJP, in fact, that was my next question. Are you joining the BJP, J. Panda?
So I think I've disappointed people like you who kept asking this question, and some people were insinuating that that's what I was going to do, because it's been 7 months. And instead of joining any other party, I have extensively been touring Odisha in the villages, meeting thousands upon thousands of people, taking their opinion, consulting political colleagues in other parties as well.
Okay.
Now, I was just telling you about the situation in Odisha. The reason I quit was because the BJD has become exactly the same kind of violent and corrupt organization that it was founded to counter 20 years ago. I'll give you one example. Now, you know, the national media has very correctly showcased violent crime that has happened in other parts of the country, such as Kathua in J&K, such as Unnao in Uttar Pradesh. Now, do you know that Odisha has 3 to 4 such incidents of gang rapes and murders every week? 3 to 4 such incidents every week for the last 3 years or so. They barely get a mention in the national media. But it is unconscionable for anybody in Odisha to see all that and not comment on it.
Right.
So that was...
The BJP seems to be taking a huge interest in Odisha. In fact, there's a lot of talk that Prime Minister Modi himself may look for a second seat from there.
There has been a lot of talk. In fact, what has happened is the BJP has grown into the second largest party in Odisha, and it has edged out the Congress.
Right.
But there are some indications now that the BJP is making the same mistake in Odisha that the Congress made.
Which is?
Let me explain.
Yeah.
One of Naveen Patnaik's greatest successes has been to convince both BJP and Congress to play them off against each other.
Okay.
To convince them not to really take on the BJD because the other national party would grow. So for the 10 years that the UPA was in government here, none of the serious corruption allegations like the chit fund scam was taken up. You know, the chit fund scam is a 20,000 crore scam where lakhs of Odia families have lost their life savings.
As bad as Bengal, it's as bad as
Bengal.
Yeah.
There was some action in Bengal. There was very little action in Odisha. The investigative agencies, treated it with kid gloves. Now, the BJP has also fallen into that same trap, thinking that perhaps if it takes on the BJD too hard, the other party will gain. So yes, the BJP, I think, has had a very good chance. Opinion polls have shown that it has gained traction. And yes, indeed, there have been rumors that Prime Minister Modi might contest from Puri.
Yeah.
If it did, it would have an impact. Because, any Prime Minister contesting from anywhere, I'll give you an example.
But is he going to leave Varanasi and come to Puri? Or?
So he himself has actually more or less denied the allegation.
Yes, in one of his...
Yes, in a recent interview, he more or less dismissed it, although he wasn't categorical.
Right.
But the BJP leaders in Odisha have been very categorical. Many of them have stated with great confidence that he would be contesting from Puri. So that is, there's a lot of confusion in the BJP.
Yeah.
The second thing is...
So what does that mean, there's a lot of confusion in the BJP? Do they know what they are doing, or do they have an agenda, a vision?
So lately, the Prime Minister has made a few visits to Odisha. The reports coming out of those visits are that he is not taking on the BJD. In fact, he is speaking about Congress in Odisha, where Congress is the third party.
Right.
Now, if you're an aspirational party, you are number 2, you want to take on the number 1 party. And in fact, there's plenty to take on. There's 19 years of incumbency. There's this huge surge in crime that I was telling you about. There's this huge surge of corruption. Now, one thing has happened. After I started speaking out about this a couple of years ago, and after I quit the party and parliament, others have been. As I said, at least a dozen leaders in Odisha have been speaking out about it. The Congress has been speaking out about it. Also, the BJP has been speaking out about it. But the real question is, are they willing to take the fight really to the streets? Major media platforms nationally, as well as other organizations, it shows that in the last 5 years, because of the rise in crime and corruption, the popularity has fallen. So he's also not unassailable anymore.
Yeah.
The reality is, as I said, BJP has successfully played Congress and BJP off against each other to their detriment. Congress has slid from being the number 1 party 20 years ago in Odisha to the number 3 party. BJP has climbed up to being the number 2 party, and now the reports indicate that it is maybe beginning to make the same mistake as Congress. So I think Odisha is wide open.
And nationally?
No, nationally,
wide open?
Nationally is different. See, when I say the election is wide open in Odisha, obviously the incumbent is BJD.
Right.
So that's a different issue there.
Right.
Nationally, when I say it's wide open, the incumbent is the NDA, the BJP.
Yeah.
So that's a very different story. I think nationally and also in Odisha, there are about 4 months left.
Yeah.
4 months is a long time in politics. And it is open to either the incumbent or the challengers to really grab the ball and run with it, to set the narrative, to grab the initiative. I think a lot could change in the next 4 months. We'll have to see how it turns out.
Panda, thank you so much for speaking to ThePrint. The Lutyens Maverick hasn't told me whether you're going to join the BJP or the Congress.
There are other options.
Like what?
You know, the regional party space may also be opening up.
So you're starting a regional party?
I'm going to be announcing my final decision very shortly, and I will take you into confidence.
Thank you so much, Jay. This is Jyoti Malhotra for ThePrint. Please continue to watch our YouTube channel. It's live and buzzing.